Cenoura Bravanel, better known as Silvio Santos, one of the biggest names in the Brazilian television history, passed away last August 17th, 2024 in São Paulo. He was an icon on the Brazilian TV, and his shows were part of my childhood and the teenage years as well. Not only mine, but most Brazilians, I would say. At the time of his passing, it took me a while to digest the fact Brazil would never have Silvio Santos again. And because of that, I held to produce this video, or a video like this, to pay tribute to him. Well, the time is right now, and with you all, the history of the biggest name in Brazil's entertainment, a legacy that will remain forever. Silvio Santos, guys, after the intro. A television host and businessman, he was the founder of SBT, the network where he worked for the past 4 decades, as well as several companies under the Silvio Santos group, including Baú da Felicidade, which is very famous in Brazil. Over the decades, he worked at major TV networks such as Tupi, Globo, Record, and his own SBT, which was formerly known as TVS. He became a part of Brazilian daily life through various variety shows, including the endless segments of Programa Silvio Santos.
Silvio Santos! Liminha, não brinca, Liminha! Ah, meu Deus do céu! Peraí, Silvio!
Ei, caramba!
Vou dar tua perna!
Ei, caramba! Olha só!
Tchau, Silvio Santos!
Aê!
Alô! Teve!
Aê!
Olha ele aqui!
Viu?
The trivia game show called Show do Milhão.
O bem-estar de quem é uma preocupação principal da Unicef? É o bem-estar de quem? Dos idosos? É o bem-estar dos prisioneiros? É o bem-estar das crianças? Ou é o bem-estar dos animais?
The matchmaking show Em Nome do Amor.
1,70 m,
com salto, sem salto. 1,70 m sem salto.
Bem, e você mora em São Paulo?
Moro em Itaquera.
Você viu a moça pela televisão?
Isso.
Ela estava dançando com o rapaz, foi isso?
Isso.
The reality TV program A Casa dos Artistas, the dream fulfilling Porta da Esperança, and the financial aid-based Topa Tudo por Dinheiro, which was my favorite when I was a kid. He exhibited on Sunday nights.
Fábrica de cenários, tá certo? Bem, mas enquanto
and Roda a Roda, among many others. It's very hard to find someone in Brazil who has never heard of his famous catchphrases such as Mahoe, quem quer dinheiro, which means who wants money.
Vou dar a pergunta, quem é que quer dinheiro? Quem quer dinheiro? Vamos colocar uma nota de R$100 aqui, uma nota de 100. E agora vamos colocar uma nota de R$50 aqui, uma nota de 50. E agora vamos cantar.
É namoro ou amizade, which means is it dating or just friendship? Or você está certo disso? Which is, are you sure about that? That he used during the Show do Milhão, which was similar to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire here in Brazil.
Olha a sua resposta.
É o número 3, crianças.
Está certo disso?
Estou.
Posso perguntar?
Pode.
Valendo R$1.000, qual é a resposta certa? Certa resposta.
Songs like Ritmo de Festa and Silvio Santos Vem Aí also became part of his legacy. At the end of the 80s, he announced plans to step away from television, naming Gugu Liberato as his successor. However, the idea never materialized and he continued working for several more decades. Around the same time, he also expressed political ambitions, guys, considering running for office here in Brazil. His most famous and closest attempt at a political career was in the 1989 presidential race. He briefly launched a hasty campaign under the Brazilian Municipality Party replacing Armando Correa, whose name had already been printed on the ballots. At one point, Silvio led the polls against Collor and Lula. However, the Electoral Court, the TSE, denied his candidacy before the election. I think he was such a big name, guys, and he was afraid that he would take control of the whole election with his popularity. I don't know. I was too young when that happened, to be honest with you. But guys, before we go on, this is your channel to speak about Brazil using the English language. And if this is your first time, you're more than welcome to be part of this BU nation that we are building here every day, little by little. Just to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and the job is done. Thank you very much. I hope you guys can binge watch the other videos. At the end of every video, I leave 2 suggestions. I'm gonna do this in this video again. It's not gonna be different. And if you enjoy, please spread the word among your friends and people who might be interested in Brazil. Let's get back to Silvio Santos. Silvio Santos was married to Maria Aparecida Vieira Abravanel, known as Cidinha, who passed away from cancer at a very young age, unfortunately. He later married Iris Abravanel. From these relationships, he had 6 daughters: Cynthia, Silvia, Daniela, Patricia, Rebecca, and Renata. Except for Daniela, who uses the last name Beirute, all are known by their father's last name, which is Abravanel. Some of his major health issues began after the age 60, including problems with his knees, heart, and prostate. In the 80s, he traveled to the United States for a throat surgery and treatment as well, guys. Later, he had to recover from a tumor near his eyelid. Throughout his life, he was also known to have a severe allergy to perfumes. Can you imagine? I love perfumes. Can you imagine not being able to use it? Silvio Santos was born in Rio de Janeiro, then the capital of Brazil, as Senhor Abravanel on December 12, 1930. He was the son of Greek immigrant Alberto Abravanel and his wife, Rebecca Caro. He had 5 siblings: Henrique, Leon, Beatriz, Perla, and Sara. The presenter inherited his father's salesmanship. His father, still young, had fled the Thessaloniki region to avoid military service, becoming a newspaper vendor in Athens. Later, he moved to Marseille, France, selling pistachios and peanuts on the streets, an illegal activity at the time. He was arrested and expelled from the country, eventually boarding a ship to Rio de Janeiro, where he worked at the ports as an interpreter and tour guide to save money and open a store. In 1945, as a teenager, Silvio first discovered his passion for business when he saw a man selling plastic covers for voter registration cards on Rio Branco Avenue. He followed the man to find his supplier, bought a cover for 2 cruzeiros, and resold it on the street, claiming it was the last one available. With the profit from his first sale, he bought 2 more and continued reselling them, always claiming each was the last one left. Silvio Santos was a genius, guys, especially for sales, which I admire a lot. He quickly expanded his business, learning magic tricks with coins and playing cards to attract attention, and selling dozens of pens daily. And listen to that, this technique people still use here in Brazil, especially inside the subway trains. At the time, Silvio Santos had friends help him act as interested buyers or warn him when inspectors were approaching. So basically, people would say, "Hey, how much is the pen?" Or people would come and say, "Hey, I bought this pen with you." They would speak out loud. "I bought this pen with you and I loved it. I want to take 10 more. So people around would say, "Wow, why is that pen so interesting?" They would buy. People still use this strategy here in Brazil, man. In São Paulo, I see that a lot. One day, when he was caught by the authorities, he unexpectedly found his first opportunity in communication. The city's chief inspector, instead of punishing him, noticed that Silvio was young, well-spoken, and a student. Instead of taking him to juvenile court, he gave him a card and told him to look for his friend Jorge de Matos at Guanabara Radio. When Silvio arrived at the station, guys, he discovered a contest for radio announcers and decided to join. He decided to enter the contest. He won first place and was given a job with a salary of 1,300 cruzeiros per month, far less than the 900 cruzeiros he made daily as a street vendor. A month later, he quit and returned to selling his goods on the streets. Inspired by great radio personalities of the time, such as César de Alencar and Manuel Barcelos, he frequently attended live recordings. It was during one of these moments, guys, that the name Silvio Santos was born. As Silvio used to say, my mother used to call me Silvio instead of Senor. One day when I signed up for George Curi's talent show, the producer, Mário Ramos, asked for my full name. Silvio, I replied. Silvio what? I said Silvio Santos, because the saints help. It just came to me in the moment and it stuck. It was also a way to disguise my identity because my real name, Cenoura Bravanel, had already become well known in talent shows since I was always winning something. He explained. Silvio Santos was amazing, guys. Just amazing. At 18, he joined the army and trained as a paratrooper, which temporarily forced him to step away from his street vending activities. He later returned to the radio, first at Mauá station, then at Tupi, where he had his first TV appearances in minor roles. Silvio later worked on Continental Radio in Niterói, but eventually resigned to pursue new opportunities. He was always wanting more. He wanted to grow. He wanted to reinvent himself. This is beautiful. His breakthrough idea came while riding the last ferry of the day back home after midnight. He noticed that most passengers were prostitutes fleeing Rio's police crackdown. He thought, why not play music to make the atmosphere livelier? He struck a deal with an appliance store to install a loudspeaker on the ferry in exchange for a year of free advertising. He also opened a bar on board, selling drinks and bingo cards to passengers. I'm sorry, guys, but he was fantastic. It's incredible. A genius, a true genius. Around this time, he considered leaving street vending behind for good. Shortly after, he returned to radio, now at Nacional, where he signed a contract in 1954. This was also when he met Manuel da Nóbrega, who became a lifelong friend. Struggling with that, Silvio continued working at his ferry bar while looking for new business ideas. He then launched a magazine called Brincadeiras pra Você, filled with crosswords, riddles, and jokes. He sold it to stores which distributed it for free to customers. I want to call the attention of you guys for this detail. Silvio was always trying to entertain people. He always wanted to bring happiness to people's lives. He saw the silence and the quiet and the sadness inside the ferry, and he decided to play music to make things softer. And now he made a magazine for people to entertain while riding the ferry. Why am I calling your attention for this? Because this was who he was, a beautiful soul, and he remained like this for the rest of his life, always entertaining people. Silvio Santos also performed at circuses, entertaining audience when performers were delayed. These experiences shaped him into a variety show host he would later become. Silvio Santos officially launched his own television channel in 1975, initially named TVS. In 1981, it became Sistema Brasileiro de Televisão, or SBT, gaining national recognition. Entertainment remained its core focus, featuring major Brazilian hosts such as Hebe Camargo, another monster of television, Gugu Liberato, Ratinho, Raul Gil, and Jô Soares, all tremendous names in the Brazilian showbiz. SBT also became famous for its children's programming and the airing of popular Mexican telenovelas, the soap operas, such as Maria do Bairro and A Usurpadora. And I have to confess, SBT was my favorite TV channel when I was a kid. They had cartoons, they had Mexican soap operas, which I watched the most of them, of course dubbed in Portuguese, but I just loved SBT. Loved SBT. It was my internet, my tablet, my entertainment at the time. And look at that, shows like Chaves and Chapolin became Brazilian pop culture staples until they stopped airing in 2020 due to license disputes, and they have returned again. And if you don't know what Chaves and Chapolin represents to us, I'm gonna leave a card at the end of this video for you to understand how powerful these two characters from Mexico are in Brazil, and that's because of Silvio Santos, okay guys? Silvio's influence extended to journalism, launching Noticentro in 1981 and later Aqui Agora, SBT Reporter and Conexão Reporter. All TV news shows that were very famous here. For decades, Silvio Santos was the face of Brazilian television. His charisma, business acumen, and unique presentation style made him an unforgettable icon. Today, SBT's history remains inseparable from the legacy of its founder. Silvio Santos was the greatest name in Brazilian television because he shaped the industry like no one else has ever done. He wasn't just a presenter, he was an entertainer, a businessman, and a cultural icon. His ability to connect with audiences of all ages made him a household name, and his shows left an undeniable mark on Brazilian pop culture. Guys, I'm telling you about Silvio Santos, and it's giving me the goosebumps, seriously. In his later years, even as he stepped back from daily TV duties, his influence remained strong. His daughters, particularly Patricia and Rebecca Bravanel, started taking on more responsibilities at SBT, ensuring his legacy would continue. However, his occasional appearances on Programa Silvio Santos still generated huge excitement, proving that he remained irreplaceable. His absence will be deeply felt because he was more than just a TV personality. He was part of Brazil's identity. His unique way of engaging with the audience, his unmistakable voice, and his iconic catchphrases became ingrained in the country's culture. For generations, Silvio Santos was synonymous with entertainment, optimism, and joy. He bridged the gaps between classes, ages, and even political divides, bringing people together in front of their screens. His passing marks the end of an era, leaving a void that no one else can truly fill, right? It's very hard for us to think he's gone, and it's very hard for me to speak about him because my childhood and my teenage years had Silvio Santos on TV, and I had a blast watching his shows. There were days that I was sad, and his shows made me happy. So this is my tribute to Silvio Santos. I'm very sorry to be touched like this. I tried very hard not to shed my tears, but Silvio Santos means a lot for this country. And we have to be credit where credit is due. I usually say that. And as I have a channel about Brazil, I could never forget to speak about this gigantic human being that we won't see another one like that again. So this is my tribute to Silvio Santos, and I have here a miniature of him to eternalize him in the history of this channel. Thank you very much. And Silvio, may you rest in peace and be received by God by eternity. Thank you very much, guys.